Globally, youths are the major driving force for development, and education is the tool. As Nigeria marks 58 years of independence, the issue of our education system, particularly as it affects the youth, comes to the fore.
We haven't fared better than the white man did while he was running the system. And some people are questioning, does that have anything to do with the black man's lack of capacity to run a proper system? Are we beginning to convince ourselves that the white man does a better job, especially when it comes to running an education system? The answer may be yes and no. And I can confirm that, yes, in many respects they did better, but in some respects we have also done better because we have captured some of our needs better than they did. But when it comes to supervising the system to ensure that the money we are spending on the system gives us the result we are looking for, I'm not sure we have lived up to expectation. And when it comes to the quality of the products that we are getting out of the system, we are very far away from where we should be.
We are at the lowest ebb. If you look at the educational system that we inherited from our colonial masters, it was a little better. And we continue talking about the old good days when Nigerian graduates can compete globally. That is not the case today. We have situation in Nigeria today where most of our graduates are unemployable.
What needs to change?
The first thing to do is to review the philosophy of education. In doing that, we need to go back to the national policy on education. The country, as we speak, has one of the best national policy on education in terms of its egalitarian nature, in terms of its objectives to make education a public good. Unfortunately, this policy is often implemented in breach. So the first thing is to re-excavate that policy, look at it, in its holistic manner, and then begin its implementation faithfully.
Nigeria's first National Curriculum Conference held in 1969. A review of the recommendations of that conference in 1973 resulted in the publication of the National Policy on Education in 1977, which went on to have a second, third, and fourth editions published in 1981, 1998, and 2004, respectively. The NPE provides that learners at all levels of education achieve permanent literacy, numeracy, and effective citizenship. But whose responsibility is it to push for a change in the narrative?
If we desire development, then relevant agencies in the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Education, Teachers Registration Council, National Universities Commission, etc. These are the people who are constitutionally saddled with the responsibility of developing education. Once they take the lead, then civil society groups, education institutions like ours can also then join in that movement in ensuring that education works, for the people of this country.
While relevant agencies have their role to play, many youths believe efforts to make any lasting change to education will be futile if the issue of curriculum is not addressed.
We have to fashion the curriculum in a way to assess our basic needs. The society, the individual, should be the major determinant of the content of the curriculum. That was one. Two, even when we change the curriculum but we have poor implementation, we'll still be having the problems we're having currently.
I'll change the curriculum in the sense that I'll change it for it to be relevant to the society we are. Because now when 21st century, everything is going digital, everything is going, there's networking and everything. I believe in teaching and impacting people, we have to use the things that we have to use instruments that can make them relevant even to other countries when they go out there.
If they can give the teachers the opportunity to make the curriculum or to structure it, because they are the one close to the student, they are the one close to those they are teaching. So if they don't allow them to structure it in such a way that students will be able to gain from it, things will not be in place, and these things might even teach students the wrong thing, which might affect them in society.
Revisit the curriculum of education in Nigeria. you scrap out. We have some things that are irrelevant that we are just doing. You scrap out the irrelevant ones, then get new ideas.
There are those, however, who say the issue of funding and student recruitment, particularly for teacher education, should be paid better attention if meaningful progress is to be made.
First of all, I would say the budget. 20% of the national budget is being allocated to education. Yeah, like, I think that's like really small. I think we can start from like that. Education need money for innovative, technology, for revamping of the structures, policies, and what have you. It needs money. So I think the president should actually look into that.
How do we recruit students for education? Because the problem is not about the curriculum per se. Now imagine where we have to dump students who cannot make cut-off mark in other faculties to bring them to education to come and become a teacher, those who will save our nation in the nearest future. Most of these people just take the course out of their volition that, well, they pushed me here, let me just end up here. That's why we cannot have any creative and dynamic process in changing our educational system.
Long-time educationist and Dean of Education at the University of Lagos agrees.
Until we begin to make conscious efforts to address the problem of funding, to address the problem of manpower deficit, to address the problem of poor quality of students that are admitted into universities, and then see how we can address the distractions that come with globalization, particularly the internet. Some students are addicted to the internet that they cannot live normal lives.
Also speaking on the current strike action by organized labor over the increase in minimum wage, Dr. Ashiru is of the opinion that labor should move the struggle further.
What we need in this country, and that's my recommendation to labor, is to move the struggle a little bit further for a redistribution of the wealth of this country. A situation where you have a large number of people who don't have and a few people who have and care less about the majority. Such a society can never develop.
He firmly believes that the nation's minimum wage should be increased from the current 18,000 naira.
They should reconvene the tripartite committee on minimum wage. Agree. And in the principle of collective bargaining, labor can say we want 100,000, 67,000, any amount. Government, private sector owners and all that, we then sit down to say, look, if we look at the economic indicators and all that, it may not be realistic to pay this quantum. We will pay this much. And then they agree in the principles of collective bargaining. But to continue to pay 18,000 naira as minimum wage in Nigeria today is not only criminal, it is unfeeling, it is callous, it is wicked, it is irresponsible of the state.
With the myriad of problems Nigeria face, is there any future for education? How soon, if any?
It shouldn't take us an arm and a leg to get there. It just will take professionals running the system to make it happen. We also exaggerate the place of money in the provision of quality education. Everything doesn't take money to do. I can assure you, if you put the right people in place, it won't take us more than 5 years and Nigeria will become a net exporter of educational services. And we'll be saving minimum of 1 trillion naira for this country annually. Be bringing people to come and school here. It won't take us more than 5 years to get there. The reason why it's not happening is because the wrong people are running the system, and they are afraid that if we run the system properly, those loopholes that they are exploiting to put public money in their private pockets will be blocked.
Whether 5 or more years, relevant agencies and government must show commitment to the restructuring of education in Nigeria to better equip the youths so they too in turn can leave the right legacy if Nigeria is truly to live up to its status as the giant of Africa. Felicity Ezewike, Plus TV Africa.